If you are a team with a young quarterback who lacks stability, then the template has been shown to you for the second time in 4 years. I hope you took notes, because there are 3 steps to every turnover. And check, check, check. Cleveland's knocked them out. The first thing you do is you hire a head coach who is an offensive coordinator who fits the talents of your young quarterback. And Cleveland could not have done a better job on this in hiring Stefanski. And I cannot tell you how many times I heard in 2019 how something's wrong with Baker. Baker might not be the guy. Baker's on the downturn. And I just kept saying, wait, because it's Kitchens. It's an offensive line he doesn't trust. It's making his footwork go to garbage, and it's making him doubt himself. An avalanche was happening in Cleveland under Kitchens, and the right scheme was going to turn Baker around. We're talking about this with Wentz in Indy. We've talked about this with Tribb in Chicago. And as soon as you see Stefanski in Cleveland, what happened? Baker turned right around. So you hire an offensive coordinator who fits the talents of your young quarterback. And in recent history, we have a direct parallel to this. The 2017 Rams. Goff came out in his rookie year and looked lost and confused. McVay got there, paired to the talents, and away he went. But the next step is the tricky one, because it's counterintuitive. You must pour every asset you have into stabilizing that offense. Come hell or high water, no matter what it does to the rest of your team, you must stabilize that offense. Because in the case of the Rams and the Browns, your offensive coordinator can dictate from his side of the ball. And that's precisely what Cleveland did. Conklin, Hooper, Wills, even a silly little trade for Janovic. All the pieces that Cleveland needed were handed to Stefanski. They added Harrison Bryant. They added Donovan Peoples-Jones in the draft as well. They stacked the cupboard so that this offense could get their feet on the ground and start building towards what they would become. And the reason you do that is because offenses love stability. And if you're trying to implement an offensive scheme and you're trying to cover liabilities at the same time, you are not going to get to the end goal as quickly. And who else did exactly that? Sean McVay with the Rams. Whitworth came in. Woods came in. They drafted Everett. They drafted Cooper Kupp. They drafted Josh Reynolds. And then they traded for Sammy Watkins. They stacked their cupboard on the offensive side of the ball. And what happened in the first year under McVay? The Rams went to the playoffs and were 11-5. And what happened in the first year with Stefanski in Cleveland? The Browns were 11-5. They went to the playoffs. It's the same template, and it worked both times, nearly the identical way. Now look over at Arizona, who can't stop picking linebackers in the first round, who has spent an exorbitant amount on the defense for Vance Joseph, and remain a team without the offensive line horses that the air raid system needs to function in the NFL. Look at Zach Taylor over in Cincinnati, who's thrown a ton of money at the secondary and the defensive line in their first 2 off seasons, knowing they'd have Joe Burrow. Still, threw all that money on the defensive side of the ball. They don't have the offensive line in place for this system to work. And you know how we know that that's wrong? Because of McVay and because of Stefanski. But this does leave an issue, and it's pretty obvious. If you pour all your assets into the offensive side of the ball, what's going to happen to the defense? Bad things. Bad things. But in the case of Stefanski and McVay, having an offense that stays balanced, stays on schedule, stays on script, gets to turn the game in the defense's favor to a degree. So even if you have a lower ranking defense and you have a collection of pieces on the field, your offense can still win from one front. You cannot fight a war on 2 fronts. So get one battle won and deal with the consequences that you have to deal with on the other side. That's what Cleveland and the Rams have done so well. And this left the Cleveland defense back 7 in complete disarray. We had nicknames for it. Denzel Ward and 6 traffic cones. Sir Denzel Ward and the Pawns of the Round Table. It was a group that had 1 star corner and 6 Jags. Just a guys. But here's the funny thing that comes after You stack all your assets on one side of the ball. You solve the problem. So now you can turn your attention to the other side of the problem. Because step one is hiring a coach who pairs with your young quarterback. Step two is stabilizing that offense and making sure it can dictate from that side of the ball. Step three is to finish. And there is no team in my memory that made a stronger push on the back seven of their defense in one offseason than the 2021 Cleveland Browns. Last year, Cleveland had 6 guys in their back seven who were average. That's done. Cleveland now has 3 studs in their back seven. They added John Johnson. They added Joker to go with Denzel Ward. On top of that, they brought in Troy Hill and Newsome, who are good players. And even the low-key addition of Anthony Walker and the return of Delpit should get them above average players. That is a defense that has gone from 1 stud and 6 average guys to 6 new guys who are all above average, 2 studs, 2 good, 2 above average. And I've never seen a team do that. Never seen a team pull off that much of a difference in one off season. And the interesting part for Cleveland is that last year they had traffic cones. They had no range in that defense. And all the players that they have, multi-positional roles, the ability to move and switch responsibilities in coverage, range galore. Cleveland runs a simple defensive scheme. But when you don't have range in a simple scheme, you're Swiss cheese. And now they've added a ton of range, which is going to make this back seven so much more difficult to deal with for offenses. However, the most interesting part of this looks to a divisional rival. Because when you look at the speed, the range, the knifing ability, and the size that makes up the back seven in the Cleveland Browns defense, it looks an awful lot like the group that the Chargers rolled out against the Baltimore Ravens in the 2018-2019 season playoffs. And this amount of speed, cutting alleys up the field and attacking, gave Baltimore fits. And if this defense in Cleveland can balance the matchup between the Cleveland defense and the Baltimore offense, that's going to sway the game, which is going to make the Cleveland Browns the favorite to win the division. So let's go back to the Rams, shall we? 2017, the Rams went 11-5 and got to the playoffs. What happened in 2018? The Rams were in the Super Bowl. It's funny how history repeats itself, huh? Now, I'm not saying the Cleveland Browns are going to the Super Bowl because Kansas City and Tampa Bay are having an arms race. It's their league, and we're all just playing in it. But there is no team in the 30 teams remaining that can make the argument that they are a more dangerous team in this league than the Cleveland Browns. Pretty amazing what some bright minds, the proper steps, and the right path can do in 16 months, huh? It's almost as if other teams should pay attention to this and copy it because it works. Looking at you, Arizona. Love you guys. We need you. Stay strong, and I'll see you on the other side.